Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you from Dubai, but of course it could be good morning, early morning, it could be late evening, subject to wherever you are viewing this, around the globe. Welcome to the webinar. This is the seventh one we've done in 2 months. For obvious reasons, the Portuguese Golden Visa is coming to this really, really important phase where it's been closed down partially by the Portuguese government, and as time has ticked on, there's a demand for clarity, a demand for updates, as it were. So we're more than happy to run these. We'll probably run another one same time next week, because we've now got that little bit of extra time, which I'll expand upon. So for a short agenda, firstly, my name's Mark Swan, and I'll be covering off one main topic, and we'll have some additional data along with that. The main topic is the current situation with the Portuguese Golden Visa, the change in the law, what's happened. Subsequently, what opportunity this gives us. And then we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the opportunities on a pragmatic level, as in, okay, if we can still do this, what investment opportunities persist? Which ones can we do, and how much does it cost? Now, there's going to be a Q&A facility all the way through. You are more than welcome to post questions, queries, concerns, anything at all. I'll try my best to answer them. If there is anything particularly challenging or difficult, what I'm not able to do straight away, then of course we'll just take that up on a one-to-one basis afterwards. Everyone's got my details, and we'll be reaching out to everyone who attends anyway, asking for some feedback. And please be as honest as you can. Constructive feedback is the way we get better. Okay, so without further ado, the update in the Portuguese Golden Visa situation. So the law, which was proposed on 16th of February, all the way back at the beginning of the year, was aimed to modify the Golden Visa, not stop it, but to change it. And the changes that were to be brought about related to real estate. The background to this is that the Portuguese government is wrangling with a common issue, and that is provision of affordable housing for its people. The property prices in Portugal have escalated over the last 12, 13 years, pretty much consistently, with the exception of the COVID time we had. Properties just kept going up in value. For those people who own property, this is wonderful, of course, great. People have worked hard, saved money, invested money into real estate, and their assets keep on going up. And no one's going to be unhappy with that. The flip side of that is, of course, for the people looking to purchase property, maybe for the first time, or to upgrade their properties because they've got changing needs, for example, very common, a young and growing family, then the cost of real estate in Portugal is a challenge. And seeing that these costs just keep on year after year going up, it's created some unrest, some dissatisfaction amongst the people. And of course, the government's role is to listen to its people by virtue of the representatives in a parliamentary model. And the people have said that they want something doing about this, particularly parents and young adults are saying that they are struggling to even contemplate getting onto the property ladder in Portugal. Now, clearly, this is a problem for the government. They need to be re-elected whilst being effective and doing things whilst they're in term. So they brought around this social housing reform bill. That's the big picture. That's the big piece of law. And within this, they've captured or embroiled the Portuguese Golden Visa, which is a real shame. Reason being, just over 18 months ago, the law on the Portuguese Golden Visa was changed, and residential real estate was excluded from the program. So the reality is now, whatever levels of investment are going in to the Portuguese Golden Visa, they go into commercial real estate, essentially hotels and hotel apartment buildings. So by now stopping this, it's quite doubtful as to whether there's going to be any real impact on retail property prices. Commercial property, retail property, people say, well, they are really linked. If everything's going up, there's a cumulative effect. But by taking a very, very small segment of the market, the commercial real estate space, and essentially removing investment from that, we within the industry and people within Portugal are very, very doubtful that it's going to have any real effect. But nonetheless, they captured the Portuguese Golden Visa as a topic because lots of foreign investment was going in. And you can almost imagine some Portuguese citizens saying things like, it's making it worse with all these people from around the world coming into Portugal and investing in real estate, driving the prices up. So I do get it, the bigger picture in terms of how this has come about. But when you look into the detail, it's really disappointing because I don't think it's going to be that effective. However, it's just my opinion. So last year, as I said, January 1st, 2022, residential real estate was omitted. So all we work with now is commercial real estate, hotel and hotel apartment buildings. And obviously it wasn't effective enough. The new law's coming out and they've said, right, we're going to remove real estate full stop from the Portuguese Golden Visa. That was the announcement in February earlier this year. And we've been waiting for a closure date and an active piece of legislation that says, right, that is when it closes. That is when you can no longer utilize real estate, commercial real estate, in the Portuguese Golden Visa. And it's dragged on and on and on. There's been debates in Parliament. It's gone back and forth. Essentially, the Parliament is run by a left-wing majority. The president in Portugal, not the prime minister, the president is essentially a right-wing figure. So there's been this constant back and forth between the two power bases. Now, it was July the 19th when the final draft of the legislation was put out, and this said that not just to remove the 280,000 euros level of investment or the 350,000 and leave the 400,000 or 500,000 in place. They said, no, we're removing real estate completely. It's finished. So there will be subsequent investment classes to use the Portugal Golden Visa, but it won't be real estate. And it's going to be €500,000. So of course, for people contemplating this scheme, cynically saying, oh, it won't really close, we've got time. It is now closing. And to realise that this is the last chance to be able to do this for approximately €300,000. After this is closed, the entry level is going to be €500,000 plus some fees. So there's been a huge rush to get everything done now before this deadline. And the legislation was passed to the president for him to authorise it or to stop it, to veto it. And this was 21st of August, the Monday just passed. And what we've seen is a real surprise because the president was expected to enact the legislation, to rubber stamp it, as it were. And he took the opportunity to make a political statement and he vetoed it. Against all expectations, he sent it back to Parliament. Now, the normal process is that he could have sent it back to the Constitutional Court for a review on the premise that he believes some of the new law is unconstitutional. Well, on the contrary, the president actually said when he vetoed it, that was not his premise for doing so. So he said the law is legal, it's proper, but he's saying it's essentially driven by politics, not essentially by true analysis on the integral factors, namely real estate and the supply and demand. So we were really surprised on Monday when it was announced that it's been vetoed. What will happen is that law will now get put back into Parliament, and because the government have a huge majority, they essentially can just steamroller through the veto process anyway. It is going to be passed. The parliamentary members have said so. They're essentially going to put the president in his place and they're going to pass the law anyway. They're not going to review it. So the notion of, well, what's going to happen with it, it is beyond any dispute, any doubt. It will be passed. It will be closed. The real estate options are going to be taken away. The unknown factor is exactly when will they do this? And the Portuguese Parliament is currently in their holiday session. So they're not in Parliament currently, but they're returning shortly. And when it will close, we don't exactly know. We don't have the info because they're not reconvened yet. So we will find out shortly. And we've talked to lawyers, we've talked to the developers, and the best estimate is that now we have a further 8 to 10 work days to submit applications. And we didn't think we were going to have this window at all. So the good news is we've still got the opportunity, which we didn't expect. In terms of it being a reprieve, it's not. The law is going through. But in terms of knowing that there's a whole host of people who were on the verge of wanting to do it, but were just a little bit nervous because they were thinking we've run out of time. We're literally down to the last day or two. We've now got just over a week now. For the people who are looking at this, they're serious about it, they've got the funds. And of course, it's a lot of money. Not everyone's got the funds available. It's very, very frustrating for the families who know that this really is the choice that they would choose if they had the time and the money, because it's the only path to a European passport without having to go live there. But for those people who are close to decision, they've got the funds, they are now thinking, wow, we thought we'd missed this. Then, yeah, we've genuinely got just over a week. We think to the end of next week to actually submit an application. What we mean by that is someone saying, yes, I want to do it, and signing the contract. The follow-on question is, well, if we don't know when the scheme's going to close, how do we know we're going to have time to do it? And the truth is we do not. But all the analysis we've done, all the work we've done, we believe the actual closure date will be towards the end of September. And we know that current processing times are taking around 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more, 16, 17 days. So that's where our timelines are coming from, where we're saying, if someone wants to go ahead with this, we absolutely advocate quick communication, facilitation of signing contracts, getting everything done, essentially planning and preparing for a very, very organised, hasty 8 or 9 days of work. And if we get this done quickly, we're very, very confident that we'll get the submission done in time. There is going to be surplus requirements that do not get completed fully in this time frame. That doesn't matter. The Portuguese government's been really clear, and it must be said, very supportive. What we need is the property purchased, the deeds exchanged so that the ownership of the real estate passes to the applicant, and then the subsequent paperwork processes can be done as quickly as possible, but it will not stop submission to the Portuguese government. The Immigration Department, SEF as it's called, have been really supportive with this. They've been transparent and really, really consistent. So just a big credit to the Portuguese government in terms of acknowledging the situation that we find ourselves in. So nice and simple. We believe we've got just over a week to take applications still. When the application's done and signed, the next stage is to facilitate transfer of funds. And it's really, really simple. We've got a huge administration department that are focused purely on the Portuguese Golden Visa. We've got a law firm in Portugal, we've got an office in Portugal. We are very, very geared up to make this happen very, very quickly and efficiently. So it's definitely not a case of saying, well, let's try and we'll see. On the contrary, we've facilitated legal agreements that guarantee 100% refund, just in case there's any surprises. So should someone say, well, I really want to apply, I'm just concerned about exposure. If I pay the legal fees and I pay the money, what if it doesn't go through in time? Well, rest assured, it's all legally contracted, 100% refund, should we run out of time. So in terms of mitigating risk, we've done that 100%, not 99, it's 100% safe and secure. You can apply for it, you will not lose money. So in principle, we have a really simple scenario. If, in terms of looking for a plan B in the future, if Portugal represents the opportunity for you and your loved ones that makes sense, namely, it's a path to a European passport that gives strong stability, gives a really prosperous block of 550 million people living in Europe, cross-culture, cross-language, socio-economic prospects that are the envy of most parts in the world. You can access this for you and your loved ones using the Portuguese Golden Visa scheme. And of course, the unique factor is that you do not have to move to Portugal to facilitate this. It is the only European residence program that requests an investment, yes. It requests residency on a very, very sparing basis. It's 1 week per year for the 5 qualifying years. There is a language test, an incredibly modest one. It's an A2 level, a junior school test. No one fails this. So essentially, there's a path to an EU passport, and residency in them 5 years of waiting provides full legal rights within Portugal. You can live there, retire there, take a job there, open a business there. You can open a business throughout Europe, actually. You get complete access to the state-funded healthcare facilities, education facilities. It is wonderful. And just for the record, when people are saying, how good would it be in Portugal? The education system's the 16th best in the world. The healthcare system is the 12th best in the world. It's phenomenal. And that's just while you're residents waiting to apply for the passport. When you get the passport, 27 countries then become your home. And all those rights of residency are applied all the way across the EU. And it's not just for yourselves, of course, it's for children, it's for their children. This is a generational citizenship that gets passed down, down, down. So in terms of life-changing, it is. So again, if it's the right scheme for you, if you've got the money, please don't hesitate, don't delay. Contact us, follow up with us. Let's get this thing done, because there's lots of people sat there thinking right now, we've got to repeat, we've got a little bit more time. Because certainly approximately 7 or 8 days ago, people thought that's it, we've missed it. But it's now available again for a short period of time. Okay, so that's the message. There's no financial risk at all. You're covered with legal refund guarantees. So if this is the scheme for you, you should apply. Absolutely. What have you got to lose? If you don't apply, it's guaranteed you won't get it. If you do apply right now, then we're very, very confident you will get it. Okay, so if you were to apply, what's the options? We currently have 2 options with 2 separate developers, both at the €280,000 level. And in a simple sense, we've got 2 really strong developers, one that's bigger than the other. One is called Mercam. This is the largest involved in the Portuguese Golden Visa scheme. Huge group, 35 years old, great track record throughout North America and Europe. And they are the powerhouse in terms of the biggest developer. They're offering a €280,000 development, which I'll show you shortly. Really, really prestigious. It's a new build. It's 5-star. It's on the beach. It really is prestigious real estate. The alternative is an equally efficient developer, very, very good group, the Lacchiani Group. Long track record, again, 30 years plus. They're just not quite as big in Portugal. And the development they're offering, whilst being very, very efficient, very, very cost effective, great value, is less prestigious. But ultimately, both these schemes work on the same principle. You invest the money into the real estate, you hold it for as long as it takes for you to apply and get the passport, and then you give it back to the developer. So the ownership model here is not one whereby you can keep it yourself afterwards. So the asset is a temporary hold for the 5 years. Then you apply for the passport. When you've got the passport, you give the property back and you get your money back. In terms of people saying, oh, wow, can we make profit on it? You know, if it goes up in value, undoubtedly it will go up in value, but the developers are the ones who will profit from that. So remember, this is a residency scheme that leads to a European passport. That's the whole focal point of the scheme. In terms of it being the best investment ever, no one's kidding anyone. It's not. You only get the money back that you paid for it. But in terms of safe and secure, legal contracts and guarantees, it's absolutely rock solid. So with both these developments, you do not look at the asset as an asset that you're going to keep and get gains from. So that's not true. On the contrary, in my mind, I always say to people, treat it like a bank deposit. You're putting 280,000 in, you'll get 280,000 back out when you've achieved the passport. And for those people who are saying, well, there's multiple family members, we might not all be able to apply for the passport at the same time, what you've got is 6 extra years after the 5-year holding period. You then apply for the passport. So you've got 6 extra years after that to exercise the buyback, just in case there was any delays in your family scenario, personal situations, and for whatever reason, you couldn't go to Portugal, you couldn't apply for the passport straight away. So there's lots of flexibility in the back end of this program for people who say, well, I might need to hold on to it a little bit longer. That's absolutely fine. But it is not something that you own forever. You do ultimately have to give it back. Both developers are successful hoteliers, developers. They want to take the building back and they want to run it as a successful hotel going forwards. The brand names involved are wonderful, very, very recognizable. When you say the words like the Hilton or Wyndham, these are huge global operators who are going to be running these hotels. And of course, it does make people very, very reassured because it's an ultimately well set up, well put together operation with track records that are decades long. So in terms of safety and security, it's an absolute home run. So just to show you the two options. Okay, this is the Mercan Resort. It's in the wonderful area on the Algarve of Alvor. And essentially, lots of data on here that I'm not going to dwell on. There's a presentation about the substance, the Portuguese Golden Visa, and Portugal's the choice. We assume you're already aware of that, otherwise you wouldn't be on here. In terms of the place where it is, story, this is really, really, really prestigious. Remember, it's not something you're going to keep. So this one is a little bit more costly. It's under construction and there's no rental income. It's literally right on the beach. It's exactly where it's going to be. 5-star resort. Of course, you'll get use of this. Every year you get a week's usage throughout the Mercan Group because this development won't be ready till the end of 2025, but you'll be able to get a week's usage every year for free throughout their group because they've got lots of other hotels. Essentially, it's a wonderful development, something that will be a great addition to the village of Alvor. Okay, now I'm just going to stop there and move over to the there. This is the Lachiani Group offering. Again, in terms of value for money, it's undeniably to value because the price is lower, but the deal's the same. So in terms of going into this, the property cost is the same, 280, but this development does give rental income. So the Mercan one does not, but it's bigger and better, more prestigious, big 5-star resort on the beach. This one is less prestigious. Again, you're not keeping it. Ultimately, in terms of an asset that's going to be a store of your wealth for 5 years, some people say, well, I'm not keeping this in the long run anyway, so I'd rather less. And essentially, the rental income on this one is 21,000 euros net. It's 30, but you have to pay income tax in Portugal on that rental income. So it nets down to 21,000 euros, and that's the difference in the price. This is where it is, in the north of Portugal, the construction. The actual building's already built. It's over 20 years old, but it's actually going through a refurbishment, and that's what the investment monies is doing. So there's no construction risk or element to this. It's a refurbishment in the interior of the hotel. Of course, it'll probably get a lick of paint as well on the outside, but the operator, Wyndham, the other operators, Hilton. In terms of credibility, safety, security, there's nothing to choose between them. Some people might say, well, I want to go with a more prestigious development, even though they're not keeping it in the longer term. That's the choice you've got, which is good. That's just taking you through the Lachiani Group's track record, lots of the things they've done in Portugal. So 2 really, really credible developments, safe and secure, mandatory buybacks on both. No real downside to either of them, albeit they are different. The Mercan one is more prestigious, on the beach, 5-star, but it's 21,000 euros more expensive. The Lachiani Group do offer rental income, and that's the difference in the price. Ever so simple, ever so simple. Now, some people may say, well, okay, show us a little bit more detail on the actual, on the quotes. Of course. What we've got here is the Alvor Resort. You'll see the price there, 315 euros. Okay. And I'll share the other one again. Lachiani Group one. Here we go. This, you can see the difference there because the upfront yield at the bottom is the 21,000 euros advance rental that you get. which of course comes off the overall cost. So 315 go down to 293. It's really, really simple. There's no other hidden, no differences. It's just the fact that this one gives you rental income, 21,000 euros worth, to take a few euros. Okay, that's for a family of 3. Both them quotations are mindful. You might be someone who's just a single applicant. It might be 2 of you, partners. There might be a family of 5 or a family of 6. In principle, the difference between the 2 developments is that rental yield. A larger family will cost more, not a lot more, but it will cost marginally more. Smaller families are a little bit less expensive, but the difference between the 2 is the rental yield that exists on one development, not on the other. I want to say thank you very much indeed for everyone who's attended. Really appreciate your time and your interest. And please do get in touch with us if this is something you want to follow up on. Thanks very much indeed. Take care.